Absolutely. And when you've got a definitive agenda and collaborative, you know, your voice can be heard. And I think it's phenomenal what you're doing. I mean, young people, we are exposing them to more than, you know, there are only so many people who can be pastors. Now, we all can be personal ministers in the workplace, but there are only so many people who can become pastors, professional athletes. We've even seen the instability of that, you know, with some of the lockouts and some of the different negotiating that's going on, that even that's not even a guaranteed position. Of course, the music industry is very volatile as well with technology. So we have to expose, you know, what's a fund manager? What's a hedge fund manager? You know, and there are people on Wall Street or in other financial centers that look like you and I look. And I think by casting that vision and you're planting those seeds, that's phenomenal in terms of creating the next generation of leaders.
Bishop, if I could just insert maybe to piggyback, if you think about it, you know, everybody has a gift, a talent, or a hobby that can be modified. Back to the point that we are all brands. In other words, we have something that we can do, because at the end of the day, it's about solving a problem. You're paid to solve a problem. Whether you work for a corporation or whether you're cutting lawn, you're solving a problem. So we all are built and designed as humans to exist in society. And I'm listening to you, and I think at the end of the day, we have to take responsibility for ourselves. At some point, the church only can go so far. At some point, we have to take responsibility, especially with the internet, as big as you are on the internet and technology and knowledge and its intellectual currency. At some point, we have to take responsibility for our own destinies. To his point, which is we look at mom and dad and we may get disillusioned. We look at the church, but we can't blame them. We can't blame Wall Street. At some point, we must take responsibility for our side of the equation and say, okay, I can do better. And he nailed it. He nailed it.
Absolutely. I mean, we're moving into an age of personal faith. And as innovation and technology is proliferated, I mean, we see now the voiceless are giving a voice with social media. You know, we're living in a thinking generation. You can't get up and just give me 3 points in a poem, you know, that you've articulated every year. I pull this message out. You've got folks there on their Blackberries, on their pads, and they're sitting there. They're on Wikipedia. They're on these different sites, and they're checking your theology while you're speaking. And now with, you know, the mobility in terms of people moving around the world, moving around the country, we're looking for your generation to totally redefine what the kingdom experience. I want every innovation that God has given each and every one of us to be antiquated in the next 5 years. And it forces us to come up in, you know, in hyperspeed per se to where you are and where you're going. What do you say to that?
I like to share this testimony. I tell all of my peers, I was at a low point in college, and when God gave me the idea for this Pray or Die t-shirt, I tell them, when you get your financial aid checks or whatever, a lot of us, we like to go and splurge, as they call splurging in the mall, get new clothes and get all of the new gadgets, new phones, and their financial aid check is gone. But I was at a low point in my life, and I thought about, when I get my financial aid check, how can I make this reciprocate? How can I make this multiply? Wow. And I prayed a simple prayer. I said, Lord, show me your purpose for my life. And in that low point, God gave me the vision for Pray or Die. And the investment was simply $200. And I never imagined that off a $200 investment that my entire college community would get behind me, and that would lead to me national platforms, more doors opening, and me having youth and young adult revivals in various states throughout the United States off simply a $200 investment.
Absolutely. And this is just the beginning. Show that again. You don't leave a lot of middle ground there. It's Pray or Die. And show me the back of that. What's on the back?
And back, now with modern day technology, with the iPhone being huge, you can scan the back of the shirt. And once you scan the back of the shirt, it immediately goes to my website. You can purchase the shirt from your phone, my bios, my press release, and you can book me to host a young adult, a teen revival throughout the United States and the world.
Wow.
Innovation at its best.
That is.
Look at there.
Innovation at its best.
Absolutely. And you did that while you were an undergraduate.
Yeah, yes, sir.
And you were at a low point. There's something about innovating in your pain. The greatest innovations come out of our pains. And if we can learn to master rather than succumb to our pain, You know, even the woman who had the issue of blood, when she insulated herself from all the noise, she was able to get some direction to say, if I can just go touch the hem, you know, the touch, the pad, all of these different innovations, you know, they definitely connect in. I tell you, this conversation could just keep going and going and going. I want to thank each of you, these experts. You know, this is such a critical topic, because we're looking at the joblessness rate now, but think about the generation that's coming now and where they're heading. We have to embrace entrepreneurship, business, acumen at such. We have to do it now. We have to do it now. What's the future for you about business?
Well, I think that the future for youth about business is to become a global and operate on a global platform, because obviously, you know, we compete in a global economy now. So our young people are no longer competing against the person across the street or the person that goes to school with them. They're competing against India and China and young people from all around the world. And so we must equip them with the right skill sets so that they can be competitive in this new economy that's coming. And I do want to say this, entrepreneurship is difficult. You know, 50% of businesses that start fail within the first year. 75% fail within the first 3 years. And people ask me all the time, how many of your young people are going to be entrepreneurs? I said 3 to 5% will become successful entrepreneurs. The difference is that other 95% are going to be so much better prepared for successful living because they've developed the skill sets to become successful. And we need to demystify this business world for them so that I mean, the reality is being an entrepreneur is tough. It takes intestinal fortitude to do what this young man is doing and to grow that to a different platform. But we need to continue to equip our young people with skills so that they can compete well and live well in this new global economy that we're living in.
That's so true. I mean, we're serial entrepreneurs, and we understand that every venture is not going to be a successful venture. We fail forward, but you know, we keep moving forward because we have a definitive purpose. And it's so interesting when it's tied to a cause where you're not just making money, but you're doing good. We call that, of course, social responsibility, social entrepreneurship. Now, on national television, I'm gonna put you on the spot, Sam.
Okay.
We've got to take a program like this and shape it for pastors, because I believe pastors need this type of business acumen as well.
Sure. And we are prepared to do that. We have a very interesting curriculum that pastors themselves could take, but certainly we would love for pastors to consider letting their young people, our young people at our church actually, and in our work, actually run small businesses while they're still young, 15, 16, 17, because we want to train them so that their failures come early and they can learn in the process. And so we would certainly be open to pastors and those that have an interest. We would actually love to take pastors through our program. I mean, I think it would be interesting for them to learn, how do you value a major corporate, a multi-billion-dollar transaction? It would be interesting so that as they move forward with their churches and their church projects, because the detail and thought and critical thinking and analysis that goes into that, it's pretty amazing. I think they will walk away from that experience.
Absolutely. And all, you know, it runs down, Psalm 133, innovation runs down. If we can impact the leaders of our community-based churches, of our physical churches, so that they can then pour that information, we can shift the mindset from being consumers to being producers and investors and business owners. Absolutely. Well, I tell you, this has been such a phenomenal conversation. I want to thank each of these experts for investing their time and intellectual capital in this conversation. I also want to thank you, the listening audience, for participating in this engaging and interactive conversation on best practices. What must we do to navigate the prophetic and challenging journey that is before us? In order to manifest the definitive purpose that God has created for each and every one of us to experience in the earth, we must embrace and do these 5 things. Number 1, adapt the mindset of God. Number 2, we must follow Christ. Number 3, embrace our manifest destiny. Number 4, learn and implement trusted and proven systems in every area of our lives. Number 5, embrace and implement a collective and collaborative roadmap for the church and our communities. To this end, I want to invest into your life. I want to sow a seed of knowledge,
understanding, and direction into your mind. For the next 24 hours, I'm giving complimentary, that's free, digital copies of my best-selling book, Your Manifest Destiny, 7.5 Words to Transform Your Future. Work the System by my friend and colleague, Sam Carpenter, and a secret chapter from my upcoming release, Occupy the Church, a prophetic roadmap for the global church. In addition, you can connect directly with the experts that have invested their time with us on today. You have 3 ways to get these best-selling books today. Number 1, go to www.oureconomicdignity.com or scan the QR code that's on the screen, or follow us on Twitter at Solutions TV. That's at Solutions TV, and we'll reciprocate with a link for you to get the resources. I also encourage you to advise everyone in your immediate network to do the same. For where you are going, it's critical that people around you have access to the same information and knowledge, particularly if they're going to remain in your inner circle. Take action now. Go to www.oureconomicdignity.com or scan the QR code that's on the screen, or follow us on Twitter at Solutions TV. Again, thank you for investing your time in viewing this interactive conversation on best practices and solutions for repositioning ourselves to manifest our definitive purpose in the earth and beyond. It's our collective mandate. Until next week, remember, a mind without barriers creates ideas without limitations. What barriers are you allowing to limit you?
Pastors, let me speak directly to you and your leaders for a moment. Our communities of faith and our neighborhoods are in chaos and crisis. When the real estate, stock market, private debt, and consumer spending markets crashed in America, it facilitated a quote-unquote church market crash as well. No one is talking about it. There was no stimulus, there was no bailout or policy created for the kingdom. In honesty and transparency, the kingdom of God shouldn't operate in reaction to man's economic markets, but should proactively influence them and engage them. We must do it ourselves. We must take the lead. We must take action to ensure the sustainability of our ministries, causes, and definitive purpose. Do we have all of the answers? No. Yet, God has given us a prophetic glimpse of what's to come and how to strategically prepare for the future of your churches and our expansion into the marketplace and every relevant sector of modern day society. To this end, I want to invest into you, your community, and your church. I will come at no cost to you, to your church. Let's plan an economic dignity weekend together. Let's plan a prophetic solutions weekend together. Call my office at 404-995-7094 or online at www.oureconomicdignity.com. That's 404-995-7094 or online at www.oureconomicdignity.com.